Hey guys, welcome to my very first episode of Marketplace Mondays. I know that I had pitched this idea last week, but just a lot of things were going on last week, so I instead decided to do a little bit of marketplace movement with the streams that I did on the weekend. So if you guys caught those streams, you probably saw a little bit of my take on the market at the time, but I want to make this into an official series where every Monday I'm going to be jumping onto the marketplace and just going through it and kind of, sharing my thoughts and going over some of the pricing and seeing things so you guys can get a little bit of a better, more thorough idea as to how somebody who's been playing the game for many months and has built a pretty strong portfolio on it looks at the marketplace and looks at it from a PvP and a breeder's point of view. So first off, because we've got the page right here and you guys can see it, look at this. We did over $3 million in sales in the last 24 hours. That is nuts. That is absolutely insane. The average price as well, sitting at 0.125. So all of this, 9,500 sales, like this is, I don't know about you, but this is the sign of a very healthy market. So this is where I always like to start when I jump into the marketplace, see what's going, look how the economy is performing. I might even look at the 7 days and just get an idea. I mean, 21 million, that's a huge number, 64,000 sales, right? And this is good because we can use these to get averages. Look at the 30-day average. It goes down a little bit, obviously. Longer terms, usually the averages are going to go down a bit regardless, but you also have to understand this takes into consideration the early Ronin adaptation, where prices actually went down quite a bit, as well as that point when Ethereum just skyrocketed. So Ethereum went up, prices went down. It's just how it works, right? You got to keep things healthy. But anyway, I always like to start on the dashboard. I just like to look at what is being listed. I like to look at what is being sold and just see, okay, where is the interest in the market right now? What are people buying? What are people selling? What is actually selling and what is just being put up on here is whether it might be floor Axies or maybe good Axies, but they just might not be moving that much. And if you have checked this page out, you can see there is some consistency. Now, of course, plants are always going to be in here because everybody needs a frontliner, right? So plants are always in here, but you know what I've actually been noticing is I'm noticing that purebred plants are not quite as popular as they used to be. It looks like people, as far as plants go, I think a lot of people are spending a majority of their budget on their backliner and their midliner or double aqua, reptile, whatever it might be team that they're building, and then they're using the minimal amount on their tank in the front. So if they have a budget of, let's say, zero point 0.4 Ethereum, they're going to spend probably 70 to 80% of it on their mid and backliner, and then they're going to spend the remaining amount on their plant. So just something that I'm noticing, a lot of plants are really just hovering around that like 0.1, and sometimes they're pure, sometimes they're not, but a lot of people seem to be picking up these low breed, slightly off purity plants, and it's a really big thing, right? Now I say that when we got a plant right here that's pure, but we've got other ones. Look, we've got an anemone here. This is a really good plant, actually. Looking at this one with the herbivore, I actually really like herbivore. It's a card that I'm thinking about getting in my current comp. But jumping through here, look, we got Bone Sale. Now, Bone Sale, I think, is a fantastic card on a plant, actually, like specifically a frontline plant tank. I think it's a really good card. We got a nice big, beefy, big yak boy over here who's pure. So every now and then these do go through, right? But regardless, what I pretty much do here is I look at these and I know what my breeding network is. I myself, I really like to breed plants, I like to breed aquas, and I like to breed birds. So I want to see, okay, are people buying all of those? Or am I breeding the wrong thing right now? And that's not always to say that I'm breeding the wrong thing just because people aren't buying them. If you are breeding a select kind of Axie and you have your parts relatively, homogenous so that you're not going to be breeding a bunch of random parts into Axies, but you're breeding some pretty straightforward, most of the time purebred Axies, well, then you can take that into consideration. Okay, maybe if people aren't buying them, maybe the supply is low. And I actually had that come into play when I was looking at one of the birds that I am very much known to be breeding, and that is actually the owlbird. So my specific form of owlbird actually looks to be a little bit rare at the moment, and that's one of the things that I don't see it selling a lot, but I do actually see that they have gone up in price, and that's specifically this last one, owlbird. This is a really good owlbird. I like it a lot. Some people don't. I've noticed that people really like to go for either a grandma's fan or potentially go for an all-out shot on the back. But look at this, the floor on these is pretty good, so I'm not really too worried about it. Even though a lot of people aren't buying these as much, the prices are still relatively healthy because they're a good Axie, right? So, and by the way, just because you see this doesn't mean you have to go and buy these now and sell them. Remember, profits are proportional to money in and money out. So if you're buying something that's expensive, you're going to have to spend more money to breed it. So whatever you're going to be breeding, just remember, you don't have to go for the most expensive one. If you do, you never know, the market might be really niche. As somebody who came from the luxury automotive department, I could tell you, when I was working with Volkswagen, I sold a lot more cars on average than when I was working with Mercedes. When I was working with Mercedes, you sold cars to a select few, but when you made those big sales, they brought money in. Now, not everybody wants to do that. Some people need consistent money. So just keep that in mind, right? Economics, guys. Don't just look at the pricey tags and think that's for me. But that being said, I like to look at a couple really, really select builds for me, but I do like to look a little bit at everything. So what I'll usually do is I'll actually have the dashboard open in another tab here. I also like to have the Axie breeding calculator open in a tab just because I like to look at breeding potential. I want to see, okay, if I'm looking at Axies and I'm considering them, are they worth it? Do they breed well together? So I usually have that open. Now you can use AxieZone. I know AxieZone also has a breeder, which is really, really good. The breeding simulator is very good on AxieZone, so use whichever one. It doesn't really matter which one you use. I mean, whichever one works for you. I've always used Freaks just because I just like to support, these more like... AxieZone's great, I love it, but I like to support these GitHubs, so that's kind of why I go that route. But let's look at the market here. Now, first things first, if you're in the Discord, you've probably heard this, but if you're not, I do just want to mention it because it is a thing right now. Now, there are a couple of issues with the marketplace, one of which is that you can't always buy everything. I have a feeling that this beast that's sitting at 0.05, which looks relatively pure, is probably not purchasable, and that's why it's still sitting here, because you couldn't imagine taking these two Axies and paying more for this one when this beast is sitting here, right? I mean, I couldn't at least. Just even breeding this thing once, it's worth it. So remember, that's one thing that's happening right now. And if it does happen, if you come across an Axie that you think is perfect and you try and buy it and it won't let you buy it, just understand, guys, these are growing pains we got to deal with. It's going to be fixed. 100% it will be fixed, and we will be able to move past it. But at the moment, it's one of the things we got to deal with. So just don't get too frustrated with it, right? Move on. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And the second thing I want to mention is that there are a few, they're not really rumors, they are talked about, but there are actually some people who are running bots in the marketplace. So we don't have a system in place yet, but we definitely will to protect it. I'm sure the Sky Mavis team is already talking about it. They are aware of it. But at the moment, there is a little bit of a risk that if you put a typo into the marketplace, it might end up being bought up by a bot before it even becomes available for you to cancel it. So just please take extra caution in listing all of your Axies or your assets on the marketplace. Now that should be just common sense, but it's not always the case, right? Especially if you got a lot or you're just doing things all day and you get muscle memory in your head. Sometimes you can make those mistakes. So just at the moment, please exercise caution. I'd hate to see anybody really losing out on their assets. You put a lot of time and money into these things, so look after them. Okay, let's get to the marketplace, guys. Everybody always asks me about tanks all the time. I'm going to show you the two tanks here that are really catching my eye at the moment because there's two different kinds that I really like. Of course, the first one is a plant. I absolutely love plants, and if you guys have seen me play, you know that one of my favorite plants is a leaf bug plant. I absolutely love these plants. Now, depending on how you want to play, you could go a couple of different routes here. You've seen me in the marketplace before. You know I like to put a lot of options in because I like to see everything. So that's how I'm going to set this up. Now, I am going to go for Yam. I do like Yam. I actually like Hatsune quite a bit as well. I like Hotbutt. And I like Carrot as well. There's just so many good tails on a plant tank. They're so good. You can even go with Cattail. I don't really use Cattail a lot. Like, I understand. I like it. I really do. But for me, Cattail, it's just... I feel like compared to some of the other tails, there's so many better tails. Like, would you have a Cattail or would you go for a Hotbutt? Well, it seems pretty easy to me. I would go for a Hotbutt. So that's one thing to take into consideration here is... No, okay... It's not just the power of your card, but it is the power of your card in comparison to the other cards that you can get in that exact same spot. And that being said, that's why a lot of people see Pumpkin, right? Pumpkin is just such a good card. Yeah, you could go Watering Can. Yeah, you could go a bunch of other options as well. Like you could go Turnip if you want, just become a Bird Sniper. These are all options, but it's like Pumpkin and Watering Can are just so strong that it's hard to choose another back card over them. Now, one thing that I'm very happy happened is not just Sirius being the mouth now. I highly recommend Herbivore, actually. I think Herbivore is a really, really good option, and I'll show you before we finish this up what I think is like my ideal tank right now that I have my eyes on and I'm trying to pick up. So start with this first off, because this is kind of where I go. I would like to stay mostly pure with these things. You know, I could throw Cactus in here. Let's throw Cactus just to be safe, because I do like Cactus. I'm going to keep it at a bare minimum of 5 pureness, because I mean, I can't go 6 if I want Leaf Bug, right? So I do want to keep it relatively pure if I can. And now what we see here is right off the bat, we see a Cactus with Aqua Ears. Now, I think most of you guys know this, but just to reiterate, Cactus works best when you go last. You don't really want a body part that's going to make you faster. So Cactus is one of those cards where, yeah, sure, you can pull it off. Don't worry. If your tank is alive and the other team's tank is not alive, even if you have Aqua Ears on your tank, you're probably going to go last. But that's really, really selective, and you don't want to be gutting yourself with the passive on Cactus by not going last, right? And if you're going to have Aqua Ears, go for heal. It's always good to go first if you have heal. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. I really like this tank, to be honest. It's not super pure, but it's a really, really good tank. The price isn't bad at all. As far as like a PvP tank goes, this thing is an energy beast. Well, not a beast, it's a plant, but it is a beast when it comes to energy. And it's also got this really good ability to kind of scrap up front and put up that lifesteal with the herbivore as long as you're hitting another plant, and just be able to actually put out some value, right? One thing that we have an issue with leaf bug tanks is they don't bring a lot of damage, right? Because Cactus, Beach, these are the damage cards that are known on plants. So Leaf Bug kind of needs to be balanced out with some more damage, and I think Herbivore does a good job. And that's kind of the plant that I would be going for if I was personally to make a choice on what I want as an ideal plant, is Leaf Bug, Herbivore, and then one of the strong tails. But let's jump a little bit further in here. Let's see what we got going on. It looks like a lot of the floor, like relatively strong, good asset floor plants are sitting around that 0.12, maybe a little bit up into the 0.3. You've got a nice like pure energy plant here that looks like a radish. I like these things, they're cute. Again, you got Cactus, but you have the Aqua parts, so I wouldn't recommend it as much. This one Aqua as well. You've got Yams. Now, I like Yams, but I do honestly think that Yams, the way that Yams work is you got to try and use a Yam tank into something that is going to capitalize on poison or capitalize on status afflictions like Terminator reptiles, etc. Yams themselves, you know, and they needed a nerf, don't get me wrong, but they got nerfed, and I just feel like against these really high damage, like Terminator reptile, beast, etc. comps, Yam is just, you know, I'll take 3 poison procs to just one-shot your tank, right? And then you have to throw that energy out, so I don't actually think Yam is as strong unless you're playing it with a comp that can capitalize on it correctly. Now, it's not to say that people don't pull it off. I think some of the best people in the upper brackets are using Yam, but these people are really practiced at it. So just make sure you know when it comes to Yam tanks, it's not, oh, I have the strongest meta tank right now. It's, okay, you have a tank that needs to be utilized correctly, so build around it if you want to do Yam. Other than that, you know, I think a lot of these are sitting here. If we go to the breedable side, like let's keep it, you know, probably 0 to 2 breeds. Let's see where we're sitting at for the floor here. 0 to 2 breeds. Okay, you know, we're not too bad. I mean, some of these aren't quite as good. This one's not too bad, but it's got the Aqua Eyes, so obviously I wouldn't do that if I could. What else do we got here? We've got some pretty good tanks. I honestly don't think that this is a bad floor. A lot of these are sitting in a pretty good spot. One thing to mention is if you find one with reptile parts give very similar values, especially speed and health. So you could go for a reptile part here if you wanted, and you could get yourself a tank that has just as much health as you would want on a pure... Oh, sorry, it gives you 1 extra speed. My apologies, I forgot about that. But you probably wouldn't go with Cactus, but even still, if you were to try and get a tank that had like that beefy health, you could go for one that has a reptile part. I don't think there's any issues with that. I have a tank that has reptile ears as well. They even look kind of cute. I don't mind them. So yeah, tanks, I mean, if you're looking for a breedable tank, you're probably somewhere around like 0.1718 up to like 0.25, I'd say, for some of the good ones here. Yeah, you're probably looking at about that. And that's if you want to get a decent tank that, you know, you can breed. Everything on here is, for the most part, not really that good for breeding if you're looking to breed. they're all kind of all over the place. They've got mixed up, so you'd probably go to like page 2 if you wanted to get yourself a nice usable cactus tank. Leaf bugs don't even really exist here. Okay, we got a leaf bug here, but it's got 2 breeds for about 0.2. Leaf bug yam. Not a bad price actually for this one with 2 breeds on it. Now I don't like the idea of it having bubble maker. I always like having tanks that go last. You've got a nice one here actually. This one's not bad at all. I wonder how pure this one is. The extension's just taken a while to load, but this one's not bad. This one's not bad either. I think, well, it does have the little PIs, which are beast, but I do think that Cactus and Hatsune are going to become a strong thing, especially if you've got a watering can, because watering can gives you energy when you get hit by aqua cards. Cactus is just really strong, and Hatsune is a good card. It's got 60 damage, 80 shield. It deactivates range cards when you get hit, which are really, really strong, because a lot of the really strong cards right now that are killing, like really, really killing teams, are a lot of these range cards that just pound into you, right? A lot of these aqua cards, even some of these bird cards. Like, I'm sure if you guys have been playing in that 1200 to 1500 MMR or ELO, whatever you want to call it, you're facing birds all the time, like all the time. So they're not bad at all. I think Hatsune is a little bit undervalued. I do think this is a strong tank too. Now, it isn't very pure, so obviously you probably wouldn't want to do this. This is a good one too. Yeah, mostly, honestly, any of these tanks, when it comes to breeding, you want to just make sure you don't have too many that are going to mess up your recessive one. This one, obviously, it's a little bit out there. I probably wouldn't go this route. You could go for something like this. It's not that bad. Having Confident instead of Serious is a little rough. Having Kataro is not that bad. I don't mind Kataro. Pumpkin Bidens, that's okay. Hatsune Carrot Hatsune, that's pretty standard. I probably wouldn't go for this again just because it's got a little bit more speed. Got this big chunky monkey over here. Oh, this is good. Okay, let me show you guys this. So this stands out to me. A couple things stand out. First off, if you look at the recessives there, let me just bring it up so I can show you a little bit more because I'd like you guys to see this. The recessives are really in line with what you would want. Now, it is expensive with 2 breeds. I do think this is a little pricey. I think for me personally, I'd probably price this about like 0.21. Yeah, maybe 0.21 would be a good price for this. I think this is a little high with 2 breeds on it. But look at these genes. They're really good. So if you're going to have to choose an off-type recessive, more often than not, you want it in either the eyes or the ears, because those aren't going to affect your cards. They're not going to affect your abilities. So you want to try and keep as much as you can pure or at least consistent in the card spots. So you can see, 2 we are dominant and recessive, 1 serious. You do have a recessive 1 trump on the head, which would be a little unfortunate, but not the end of the world. I mean, he already looks kind of goofy. You might as well give him a Trump haircut and just call it a day, make it a meme. But he does have a Leaf Bug Dominant and a Leaf Bug Recessive too, which is good. So if you were to breed him with maybe a Leaf Bug Dominant and a Leaf Bug Recessive 1, you're going to have a really high chance of getting that over the Trump, right? He's got pure Pumpkin all the way through, pure Yam all the way through. And now I know I did just say that Yam's not the best go-to for people who aren't used to it, but this is just an example to show you. You could sub Yam in for Carrot or Hot Butt, whatever you're looking for, but these are the parts where you really want to, prioritize having as much purity as you can. I just realized the Pumpkin has a Shiitake recessive too, but not really a big deal going with the Shiitake and the recessive too. It's not a bad problem. But if you can, try and have most of your impurities in the eyes and in the ears. That's just the best place to have it come out if it has to, because it doesn't affect the usability of the Axie itself. So let's go back here. I'm going to wrap up tanks at this point. I want to show you another one that I know a lot of people are looking at, and that's going to be Aquas and Beasts. I think I touched them in the stream, so most of you guys will look at it. So maybe today what we'll do is we'll look into bugs, because I have been told a lot of people don't know a lot about bugs. So let's make bugs happen too. But I am going to show you what I think is great. So if I was to choose a tank right now that I really, really have my eyes on, it would probably be a tank that looks a lot like this. Let me pull this off. Now, the reason why I have a couple of these on, Pumpkin, Watering Can, Hatsune, Hot Butt, Herbivore. Oh my goodness, is there none like this? You've got to be kidding me. Oh, with the breed counts, let's put those up. Wow, absolutely nothing. Let's pull the pureness down really quick. Jeez, this is crazy. There's only one of these. That's why I probably don't see a whole lot of them. Jeez, that is insane. Okay, you know what? Maybe what I can do is I can pull off the tail aspect, and I just want to see what's out there. Okay, so there's a couple here. It looks like most of them got yam and carrot, or a couple of the last one here, which is kind of interesting. So this is where my mind goes. I really like these. Now, one thing I do like, even though it's off type, is this right here. I'm not a big fan of it having the bird eyes, but I do like having beast cards on a frontline plant tank because beast cards, they do extra damage to other plants. So your plant has some real serious threat against that other frontliner if you have a beast card. I think it's one of the reasons why you'll probably see nutcrackers on them. So if I had to choose an off type to have on a tank as far as damage goes, I might consider something like a beast tail or beast mouth, whatever it might be. But I really like the idea of having this built up in this way. I would probably go for something like just the carrot here to keep it simple, or I would go for the yam if I was able. Well, this is really good actually. Go for the yam if I was going to put it into like a Terminator comp or a Thorny Caterpillar comp with reptiles. Really good option too. Now, this one is a pretty good price, but it is 4 breeds. That's one thing to keep in mind. You'd probably want to find, if you were to put this into a breeding network, you would probably want to find like 3 others so that you could make at least a fresh 4 virgin comp out of it, and then try and recoup some of your costs by selling this as a floor Axie with 6 breeds on it. It would be hard, but you never know. If you sell it cheap enough, you could kind of balance out the cost. When you're looking at something that's around this price point, it can be a little bit of a wash if you want. Like, I could breed 2 Axies out of this thing and make that money back on it. So even if I sold this at floor, which would probably be somewhere around like 0.08 to 9-ish with 6 breeds on it, someone would pick it up, right? You could probably even get, 0.1 if you got lucky on it. Something like this, I don't really like that it has the aqua eyes, but I do like the breeds on it. But you could, oh no, this is the nerdy eyes, sorry. So it is kind of similar. So if you do get bug eyes, you could actually make this tank work, because bug eyes are going to give you crit, but they're not going to give you more speed. So you could still make this tank work for sure if you had to go for an off type card. And it has confused in Poppy, which I believe this other one had 2 Poppy, 3 Poppy. So I mean, if you were to breed something like this with this one here, let's even show you really quick. 485, 325, 485, 5, and this one is 356, 023. I just want to show you what I mean when I say, eyes and ears, you can kind of work with them a lot easier. Now, I know it'll take a quick moment for this to load up just because things are kind of slow at the moment. All right, so here we go. Even though you had a dominant set of nerdy eyes on the one Axie, because you have so many recessive poppies, and you did have a recessive poppy in it as well, you've got like a good 16% higher chance to get the poppy over the nerdy. Now, again, if you were to end up getting this, it's not the end of the world because it's not going to affect your stats too much. If anything, it gives you more crit. So whatever, more crit isn't that bad. It doesn't give you more speed, so it's not really the end of the world there. I don't mind it at all. But one of the things you would want to watch out is maybe getting like a little owl on the mouth. If you got a little owl on a tank, ooh, that would be rough. But you've got in total with the 75 and the 12.5, you've got 87.5% chance not to get these. It's just when you do have something sitting at a 9.375, and then you've also got this 3.125, that does give you a chance. This is about 13, or no, this is 12.5%. Sorry, it's 12.5% to get this. So you've just got to bear in mind that that could happen. Even though this is only 3% and this is only 9.3%, it still has a chance. They add up together. So when you're determining those values, determine them in that way. And if you were to get this is one thing to look at. If you were to get this bird mouth, it would bring your speed up. It also has a 9.375 chance to get cactus. So if you were to roll an unlucky cactus and a little owl, it would really gut you. Now, does that mean you don't breed this? Like you just completely write it off? No, in all honesty, I don't think it's that bad. I think the chances on this one are pretty likely, but it's just good for you to know that and determine it. You also have a chance to get it white. If you guys have ever seen my teams, I like the white colors. They're just so crisp and clean. They look really good. Okay, let's jump back now. I do want to jump into the bugs to show you guys before we wrap it up here. I am going to do a special little mention of a mech that is coming back into the meta that has been gone for a while, so I'm going to show you that too. But one of the bugs I want to show you, because you're all familiar with Terminators, is I want to show you 2 kind of bugs that I'm actually, I actually really enjoy. I think they're great bugs. And one of them is a very well-known bug if you played a little while back, and it's the double discard bug. It's super strong. So Parasite for the horn, Thunderclaw. You normally go Snail Shell. I mean, you could go for something else if you want, and then for the tail, you're probably going to go Anesthetic Bait or Fish Snack, or you could go a little bit different. You could go for Thorny if you really wanted. Thorny's not a bad run for it. If you did just want to be able to have a little bit more damage as well, you could go a different route, but I know these are some of the most popular ones here, and for good reason, right? Because it's just got so much oppression to some of the meta comps, which are birds and aquas. This against a bird and an aqua, despite the fact that it takes extra damage from them, is really, really strong if you can get on the upper hand, start discarding the cards, and using the double stun to your advantage. Now, again, that being said, you do got to be careful because a lot of people are running these zero costs in their aqua builds and they're able to kind of balance using those zero costs. But if you can keep them limited with the discard, which is what this does, Parasite does about 80 damage and it discards. Thunderclaw just does a little bit of damage, but it discards. So if you can get on top of them, get them down to 0 cards, so they're only drawing 3 cards every turn, that means go ahead. You know, if you are going to get stunned by 2 of these because I have Anesthetic Bait, then I'm going to have a lot of opportunity to kill you. Now, you could always change it up a little bit. I've seen people putting things in, like, I even think I've seen people putting, like, Scale Dart in and stuff. Just give me a sec here. Iguana Scale Dart. I'm pretty sure that I've seen this a couple times on bugs. It's really good. I do think it is a good option to go for as well if you're not going to want to go for the defense, but you want to go for the damage. Looks like there isn't even really any. I think most of the ones you see with the Scale Dart are kind of exclusive to have a little bit more to them. The Thorny Caterpillar is good as well. If you want to have that extra damage and kind of run a different form of the Terminator, you could run it with the double discard and be a really oppressive force. You also still have the 0 cost on the mouse, so you are able to run that combo where you're able to get damage. The only thing about this one in particular, you don't have a way to activate Thorny on your own. So you would have to kind of fit that out with the rest of your team, maybe running a Yam tank, running a Garish Worm, running just a Poison Reptile, whatever it might be. But this is a very, very popular bug that I've seen so many times in the previous season, but it's kind of fallen off now because, of course, you have Terminator Reptiles. And overall, Terminator Reptiles just do a better job fighting a lot of the meta, which is aquas and birds. So aquas and birds right now are just running through the meta. They're running wild. You got people just playing these coin flip games where they hope they have the bird with the lower stock number so that they can murk the other bird quick, and it can be kind of hard to fight that. But a good way to fight that is have a nice Terminator Reptile, make it the fastest one on your team, make sure that you're built to try and counter a bird, and then go up against it and beat it, right? So that's why people are doing that. Plus, reptiles take less damage from birds. So that's probably why you don't see as many of these bugs in the meta now, is because people have just kind of transitioned over to Terminators. Now, do I think that that makes these not applicable? No, I still think that these are very, very strong. And look, you can pick up one of these double discard Anesthetic Bait bugs for like 0.07. That is an absolute steal. Sure, it has 4 breeds on it, but you're not going to be using this thing for breeding for the most part. This is kind of like a PvP specific bug. And if you were to play this, you would probably want to mix it out with something, like pair it up with a nice strong reptile so that you have that ability to balance your weakness against birds and aquas, even though you have cards that are kind of meant to counter them, with a really strong reptile. If you were going to do that, you'd probably want to watch your positioning, maybe put the reptile in the back and him in the mid, because Chitin Jump, the lobster tail, will target your backliner. So an aqua who's got that lobster tail can go right to your bug in the back. Okay, so I said I had an honorable mention because it's coming back in the meta, and that is the Beast Mech. This thing is an absolute monster, and I've been seeing it quite a bit around that like 13 to 1500 elo, maybe a little bit higher for the people who are really good at it. But here's the thing, it's getting a little bit better. So you do still have the Rimp, which is the double nut Rimp mech. These things are super strong, and the reason why they're strong is for a couple of different reasons. Let me bring one up so I can show you. I'm also going to show you another one that I actually like a little bit more, and that's the dual blade one. There's not as many of these dual blades, but if you can get your hands on a dual blade mech, oh geez, they are strong. Now don't get one with the plant eyes because you don't want that. Probably go, now this is expensive, but you'd probably go with something that has maybe a bird part kind of like this. So let me pull them both up here. So you've got this 99% perfect triple. This one's pretty nice actually. Now, I do think that as far as this goes, it's pretty standard, so it's a good example. Look at this speed. One of the things that beasts have issues with at times is going before Terminators that are built right, reps that are built right, or some of these weird little mismatched creatures that are sitting about like 44, 45 speed. You know, if your beast doesn't go before that and they get on top of you and they start oppressing you, beasts don't have a lot of defense. They have issues. Another thing beasts are really well known for is comboing. Most people don't know what skill stands for. Well, one of the things that skill gives you is extra damage on your combos. So when you're using a double nut Ronin Rimp combo, it does extra damage on a mech because it has that higher skill. Now, is this going to make or break your combos and just make you unstoppable? No, it's definitely not. Skill doesn't make that much of a difference, but you will feel it overall. Now, you won't be critting as much, so obviously you want to be running Ronin if you can. Risky Beast doesn't work as well on this because you don't get as many last stand procs, and you also don't get as high a chance to crit without the combo. So if you are going to run a mech, you probably want to run Ronin. You don't have to run Imp though. You could also run Dual Blade. If you guys have seen me, you know that my boy Tunut, he does some damage. So if you can run something like this, you can do tons of damage. And this one's kind of cool. The reason I went with the Bird is because Bird gives you more speed and it gives you more morale. Now, if you have anything that slows, such as a Terminator Reptile, what you can do is if you're able to get a slow on an Aqua, you have a chance to actually go first here, because a slow on a pure Aqua would bring it down to 47 speed. And if you have the higher skill, which you do, and skill counts before stock number, just in case you guys didn't know that, skill is a tiebreaker that comes before stock number, then you have that opportunity to go first. It doesn't matter what their stock number is, you will go first. So that's another sneaky reason why I think this kind of mech with a bird part that doesn't affect your actual combo is just so strong. Imagine you slow that Aqua down on the turn right before your beast gets into a 1v1 with it, and you got 4 cards with a double Sinister, double Ronin. That Aqua's going to have a bad day. Now, that being said, of course, I know what you guys are thinking. Hey, Aquas run Goldfish and Koi all the time. I agree, and I think that in a lot of cases, this might not be as effective, but there are still a lot of Aquas out there that are just running standard. Some are running Sponge, you have the double Anemones, you have a lot of Aquas that still don't run those cards. So it is a chance you could get that, and for a price of like 0.1863, now you wouldn't really breed this thing, but you could get your hands on it for a pretty good price. You know, it's only 485 American, and this is a unique specific Axies. So this was an honorable mention I wanted to throw out there because I think it's a really cool type. I've always liked mechs. I like how they look because I enjoy the color gray and the color blue. This is kind of the best of both worlds. And I also like that they're based off of beasts. A lot of mechs you see are going to be beasts. So I love that idea. I love the idea of having a beast with some slightly different stats, because every time I use my beast, I think of it like this. Dual Blade is great. I love it. But a lot of what I do is based around Ronin and just really lucky crits out of my Dual Blades. And we've seen crits can come out of anything. 27 morale Aquas at times will crit more than your beast, so you still have a lot of chance to get crit. So even with 43 morale, like, this will definitely crit sometimes. And in those lucky moments when you're going to crit, you're not banking on that. You've lost your win condition and now you're hoping. This gives you a little bit more standardized win condition and a little bit less hopes and dreams. And if you don't got Tunut, who always comes in and just clutches the game, well, obviously you don't want to be relying on hopes and dreams. You want to be methodical and you want to be strategic. So wanted to throw this out here as a nice little honorable mention. This is a good one to look at. But overall, as I'm trying to explain here, the way that I look at the market is I look at what's selling. I look where I'm positioned in the market. So if I'm a double Aqua user, I'm going to go in and say, hey, look, I got to see what the Aquas are at. I'm going to go look because I probably have a Risky Fish, Tail Slap, Goldfish, and probably Shoal Star. I'll put a Koi in here just in case, because I know there's a lot of people, and Navaga, because why not? So I'm going to look at what my Axies are selling for in the market, what I'm breeding, right? And see where I stand on it. So, okay, we've got, a 4 breed here who is pretty pure. This is kind of like an after breed. So if you had a breeding network going, you could breed it 4 times, then sell it for this floor. This one is impure though, because I can see the plant eyes on it. If you were to go for something pure here, ooh, this is actually a really, really juicy buy. Damn. It must be because it has Navaga. A lot of people like to go koi over Navaga, so that's probably why this one is a little bit more expensive with more breeds, and this one's a little bit cheaper, but this is a nice buy, actually. Pure, very, very pure, 99% pure. It's got triple Navaga. This one has Koi Koi Nemo, so this one's actually really good. Those genes are great. Plus, it has Robin. The only thing about this that really stands out is that Recessive 1 Scaly Spear. You really don't want to get a Scaly Spear. You have nothing else to really build with it, and Shoalstar is just such an important card on these Aquas because Shoalstar gives you that ability to kill without the Axie going into last stand. So that is one thing to consider. Actually, since we got it here, I got to show you guys something. I bet you've never noticed this, and I didn't even notice this. So hats off. This is not to me. I'm actually got to shout out my one of my closest friends. If you're in the Discord, you know him, and that's Oriel. I was playing against a Kataro the other day, and did you guys ever notice that the eyes on Kataro are fake? Eyes are always blinking, right? Well, look at these eyes. They're painted on. They're not real. The real eyes are these tiny little specks here in between, up above them, that are blinking. Look. It's blinking. See? I didn't even notice that. And I bet you none of you guys noticed that either. Kataro's eyes are actually these tiny little ones, and these are the fake eyes. Hence why they have the question mark there. Are these really Kataro eyes? No, they're not. They're fake. So I hope I blew all your guys' minds there, because my mind was blown. So once again, shout out to Oriel. Such a smart guy. He's really great. If you guys are in the Discord, you know he's a fantastic guy. So yeah, this is really funny. I just wanted to share that with you guys. But let's jump back here. Let's just do a quick little wrap up. I'm going to do tons of these. I'm going to do them every week, so don't worry. If I didn't hit your specific type, it is coming. Make sure you're subscribed and you turn on your notifications so you don't miss it when it does come. But otherwise, I hope that it was informative. I went into a lot of detail on the plant tanks, and it's because I've been getting so many questions on them, and I also think they're a really, really big mover right now. I didn't jump into aquas and beasts as much because I've done them on my stream already, so if you guys want, I'll leave a link up in the corner so that you can check out the stream where I went in and I specifically went over aquas and beasts. So if you're curious about aquas and beasts, watch that stream. If you do just want to watch that part and not the whole stream, because I know it is long, skip to the end. It's about the last maybe 30-40 minutes I go through the marketplace, so you'll have a little bit more time to watch it. But yeah, so we went over the plants, went really in detail on it, so you guys can see kind of where my mind goes. I am eyeing up a kind of unique plant in the future, so if any of you guys got hands on one of those plants, let me know. Maybe I'll buy it from you. Other than that, we also went into talking about how to just look at the market, right? Look at the dashboard, see how the market's moving, look at how healthy it is, understand where the average price points are, and then when you're pricing your Axies, know, okay, do I sell this zero breed Axie for 0.25, 0.3? Well, it's probably not going to sell, right? Go and breed it if you can, breed it a couple times, and sell it closer to that average price point, because that's where you're going to get the quickest movement in the market. So always keep your eyes on the market, understand the economics of it so that you know that you're situated correctly in it and you're not going against the grain. Markets, they don't care about equality. They're all about equity. If you are not in that equity position, then the market doesn't care about you. It's not going to give you a handout. So you got to make sure that you do your due diligence to be in the right position. On top of that, go and check out what you're breeding, know what your specific breed networks are going for, and know that you are positioned correctly in them too. If you are getting to a point where your breeding network is maybe falling at a meta, you got to make a decision. Okay, do I try and do a bit of a transition? Maybe not sell off that breeding network, but start putting your SLP and ETH elsewhere. Those are the kind of things you got to consider. And then on top of that too, we went into the bug so I could show you the bug that was pretty big last season, but not as big this season. And then finish it off with, of course, that honorable mention on the mech. I love mechs. I'm planning to get one relatively soon myself, so hopefully I can get my hands on a really nice mech with the build that I'm looking for. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now, if you did enjoy it, make sure to give us a like. I know I've been doing a lot of streaming, but I want to get these videos out too. We're working for that 1,000 subscribers. Once we do, I have a huge giveaway set up, so I hope we can get there. If you guys can help out, share the videos, throw them up on Twitter. I'm active on Twitter, whatever it might be. Help support this channel, and we will make sure, myself alone, I will make sure that everyone is looked after and that we give back to the community as much as we can. Give us a like on the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you subscribe. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my great content coming out in the future. And throw a comment down below. Tell me hi. Make sure that, especially if you're in the Discord, let me know you're watching the videos, because if I know you guys are asking me questions I've answered in the videos, I'm going to be looking at you, right? Hey, I got to be looking at you. You're in my Discord, but you're not supporting the channel. That makes me sad. No, but for real, I hope you enjoyed it. And that all being said, until next time, everyone.